All right, hey everyone, back with episode 17? 18 for the D'ART Shtajio vlog. I'm Henry Thurlow.
I'm Arthell.
So we were sitting here for a whole long time wondering,
figure
what is our next topic? What are we going to talk about? I have no idea, and then we just went back and forth and we still haven't figured anything out. But okay, so the last thing we said, which I'm thinking maybe could lead into some kind of conversation, is we're talking about censorship. How anime was censored back in the day versus how it's censored now, and like why that happened or whatever like that. I don't know how much I have to say on it, but I have one anecdote or like one story that I heard. So even before working with Toei, recently we've worked with Toei on like One Piece and stuff. Even before working with them, I've known some people at Toei, right? And as a huge like Dragon Ball fan, I remember asking or mentioning just in one of our conversations, I basically just mentioned how Dragon Ball was released in the States. Like, it was super violent, or when it was originally shown on American TV, there was all this stuff edited. So, like, the characters had hell written on their shirt when the guy went to hell. But they put these white blocks, so it was like Hiffle or something. Like they edited little
That's interesting.
No. It was Home for Infinite Losers. Like later on, they thought of how did we edit it? Is there something that we could use this as an acronym for? And so they made that and they actually put it in the dubbing. And then also characters get their faces all beat up. It was never a super gory one. It's not like Dragon Ball Z was like blood spraying everywhere, but they would get beat up and have blood on out of their mouths and stuff like that, and cuts all over their body. But then on the American versions, they block out those areas, so it's like they're totally fine.
Actually, even with recent, like, because with blood, so blood, that's a good. I remember when I was working on Blood Plus, or C, I forget the title, but I was working on
Blood C.
Blood C. I was working on Blood C,
I think.
And so that's a very gory anime because she's killing vampires or whatnot, or demons, right? And then we got a note that we had put too much blood, and this is in the background, right? It's not even splattering. It's just a background painting. But so we had to take the blood out, and then later they changed it so that we couldn't use red anymore. We had to use a really dark color, almost like black, for whenever there was blood, because it was just. If it's black, then you kind of don't even notice that it's blood.
That's what recent censorship has actually been doing. Yeah. I noticed, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like the guy will get like he gets stabbed in the neck or something like that, and like normally blood is red, and when they're doing the punching in the face and stuff, you see blood, like red blood splitting out. But then all of a sudden in this one scene, like right where he's hitting, all of a sudden all of this turns black, black is coming out of his mouth. So I mean, obviously it's blood, but I guess it's less super ultra graphically gory or something.
It's not the color of blood. And I think the last season of Shingeki no Kyojin, what is that in English?
Attack on Titan.
The Attack on Titans.
Did they do that
is really censored. So the first episode 1, season 1, and even season 2, the the giants were like eating people, tearing them apart and blood. The newer season, the camera cuts away when there's like a really violent thing about to happen.
I mean, there's still some violence. There's still like arms and stuff getting torn off. But maybe it wasn't as bad. But to go back to the story I was saying, so like we're talking about Dragon Ball Z and how like that's how it aired, but then they would also release the uncut versions on VHS. So there used to be edited and uncensored VHS tapes, and then like both versions were in I think the DVDs, and anyway, so there's tons of different versions about it. And I think maybe I made some comment like, oh, recently, I don't think Japanese anime in general is as violent as it used to be, especially for the old OVAs and stuff that I used to love. But what they said was, the reason anime, at least for a while now, maybe even still, isn't so violent is because of the West.
Yeah.
It's because of that Dragon Ball Z, those Dragon Ball Z releases, essentially. Not just that, but like during that time, first things first. Japanese animators and companies are making Japanese animation for the Japanese market, right? but then it becomes famous internationally. So now it's being released on VHS in America, right? But the companies who licensed it for probably lots of money, millions of dollars and stuff, like, so now obviously the feelings of these giant companies who are buying your stuff for and making you lots of money, suddenly their feelings matter, and you have to sit down and talk with them about what they also want the direction to go in and stuff like that. And so, you know, in America, they would be like, we have to make multiple versions of this VHS. We have to have edited, we have to have uncut, we have to keep them separate. One can only go on these television stations, one can only go on these, and it's so much work. Like, if you could just release, not necessarily the edited one, but like, we wouldn't have to edit it if this bloody stuff only happened 2 or 3 times per episode.
What is it?
MPAA,
right?
Yeah.
So they want it. They essentially
it needs to, or at least gets
ratings.
close. Like, look, if there's one scene you can't help, the guy gets his arm chopped off, whatever, then we'll edit your one scene. But it's like, can you not have it every 5 minutes? Can you just ease up on it? I think that was the request. The request wasn't like, we demand immediate censorship, but it was like, we'll be able to even probably invest more money in your stuff, right? If you just cut it back so that there's only a couple edits for us and not a million.
And that's what the MPAA is, right?
And
you're allowed to curse 2 times, not 20.
And so then the big companies here were like, well, so that it easily can get sold to the foreign clients that want to license this stuff, we'll also care about their censoring like rules, right? To an extent, maybe not 100%, but to an extent, so that it'll be easy for them to license and we'll all make money, right? But then what kind of happened was Japan changed to make them happy, but then anime became really popular in the West, and now that there was a lot of fans, it's like, where's the ultra-violent stuff? Where's the Attack on Titan, right? You know, why? How come old anime is violent and now not newer stuff is? But that's because of your market. I used to love that old violent stuff too, but the reason it changed wasn't because, man, Japan really changed. It was because of your market forcing them to change.
Yeah, and it's interesting because now we're starting to see that happen again. Which I'm not going to give my opinion. I always try to just stay.
Give your opinion, Arthell.
Bias to this. Well, okay, this is interesting. So this is one of those hot topics. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys think. But it's on the same topic, but it's a hot subject matter, I guess. But,
oh boy!
So
here we go.
So now, like, and it's interesting because I read an article recently about this. Some people were posting it that, you know, in Australia and in Russia, anime is being, so in Russia I think anime is not allowed or something like that, or most of it is not allowed on TV because there's too many young girls and blah 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 blah, right? And then in Australia,
I read about the Australian stuff.
They recently also passed a new law or something, or they've been trying to like limit the amount of anime that goes through Australia for because the young girl, like, anime often depicts young girls in sexual scenes and things like that. Now, so that goes back to what Henry was saying, that, you know, it's the Western audiences and everyone, like, they're influenced by purchasing things that then changes.
Will history repeat itself? Because Australia hates the fact that girls that in the anime, I guess everyone, like, even America and stuff, right? Because the character that in the anime is claimed to be 16 or 14 or something is topless in a sequence or is in too skimpy of things. Will then Japan change and remove those sequences and those erotic imagery?
Like, so from here on out, will anime even just start changing, right? As a whole. So,
and I guess I don't know the answer to that, because behind the scenes, like, if the Australian companies that are, or let's say lots of
Western companies,
let's say, we'll say Western, but I guess in this case, I know the Australian story you're talking about. Like, let's say that government or some companies in that country were about to license tons and tons of stuff, like huge, massive profit was going to come from the business you were doing with them. So that you can keep that business relationship working into the future, will future productions be adjusted to make that happen? Even though Japan doesn't really want that changed, will the production still change because they just need to make those foreign clients kind of happy?
Sell the same units.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think things will change?
Well, I think that it most likely will change because the global audience is bigger, right? And so, which is, I mean, and it's interesting because it's one of those things where we always often point the finger at the fans. People always ask, well, maybe I'm notorious for that, where people always say, why do you blame, right? Like, but it's not that I'm blaming, but I'm just saying that we have to take responsibility as viewers. Like, so what, because we're often...
But to defend fans, because I'm a fan, I don't want anything changed. I don't want anything changed even from the 80s stuff. Go and look at Ninja Scroll, well, that was 90s, but go to look at Ninja Scroll or go look at original Fist of the North Star, right? Go look at all that crazy stuff, all the craziness we're talking about, right? I love it all. I want it all. So it's not me, but I don't know why the companies demand this. I mean, I know to a certain extent why,
I don't
but
think it's the fans, because even in Australia's case, it's not the fans, right? It's
of course it's the government, right?
And it's
so is the SJW is the stubbornness of
the, it's interesting because it's
the most
the
extreme
of the outside. So that, which is interesting because you want for anime to be something that's open for everybody to view, which then means that now do you only focus on what the fans want, or the core fans, right? Which is more like a subculture or something, or do you now have to appeal to a much wider audience, that's the views of the wider audience, which is interesting. Which is another question. It's like, why does the wider audience who doesn't even watch anime have an opinion about it? And should they be allowed to have an opinion about it?
Well, anyone can have any opinion.
Yeah, exactly, right. That. So everyone. Well, no. So I guess my question
should their opinion influence? No, probably not.
So you think it shouldn't? And so I don't know, because I think that's a hard question, because if you want, so then that comes down where we always say intention, right? Now, do you intend for your this production that you're making to be viewed by more people? If that's the case, then obviously you should. Then now you have to appeal to everyone. Or if you're fine with targeting a smaller audience, so like with what's the rated R movie? The guy with
the rated R movie. The rated R movie.
Black. He's a comic book character.
Deadpool.
Deadpool, right? So Deadpool, it was what specifically said we're going to be rated R. This is what we're going to do, and I think that's fine, right? And I think that.
But now, in future things might be PG-13.
It might be, right? So it's interesting, because it's like, do you put your foot down and just say, well, this is what we're going to do?
Well, I guess the future of anime will. I mean, I already know the real answer, which is. There'll be different companies that handle it different ways, and different productions that handle it in different ways. So will there still be niche anime for the fan of the ultraviolent? Yes. Will there still be niche anime with lots of nudity and sexuality? Of course. That's going to exist somewhere. But will there also be companies that start to adjust their model because they have certain investors from overseas that they just need to keep working with? Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sure that'll happen too. So it'll go in all the directions. Nothing will become extinct, I don't think. But to what percentage the mainstream stuff is altered, I'm not sure.
And I think that's probably that's the way it should always be anyway, right? Like when you go in the video, now when you go into the video store,
dating yourself.
When you go into
old man,
you used to be able to, like, the X-rated stuff or whatever would be behind the curtain. Yeah. For adults, it would be like in this aisle over here, and even
kids section.
And it's interesting though, because now we have streaming services, right? And so it's like, well.
But they have child protective locks,
I guess. They have child
but
protective locks, but even the streaming services, because like Netflix doesn't have like X-rated content on it, right? Like when you're watching adult stuff.
That's going to be a future streaming service, no doubt. You just stumbled onto something. So in fact, D'ART is going to. We are announcing. We are
the next X-rated streaming service. So everyone, please sign on if you want this. No. You heard it here.
Yeah. Animation only, or are we?
Just like every. I think we'll be doing animation only. We'll do what we call dark anime. So we'll call it
You call it dark anime. I don't put that much.
That's what we're gonna call it, dark anime. You guys can call it dark anime. That's what I call it. Yeah. So we're only gonna produce dark anime from here on out.
Oh yeah. Big announcement. Big announcement.
It's confidential.
D'ART from here on out. Anime porn only, exclusively.
Exclusively. Yeah. Because we want to. We've heard you guys' calls and rallies.
Yeah. We hear what the people want.
So that's that. And as we always say, 下地が大事.
See you guys next time.